Hi everybody, this is Mucha from Matrix Global Media and welcome to Ask the Expert, where we call on some of the industry's leading authorities and ask them what they know and what they've learnt. Blogging in the whole spectrum of social media cannot be underestimated. While we look to Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTubes and even podcasts, they're all supposed to specifically lead to a certain place, and that place, I believe, is the blog. And I'm delighted today to have a gentleman, a young man on the line who I think does the blogging as best as anybody out there. His name is Patrick Flynn. He's from San Diego, California, and once again I'm happy to have him here. Pat, thanks ever so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Hey, what a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for that. It's my pleasure to be here, Mucha.
Well, Pat, I think those who have sort of listened to Ask the Expert and follow what I do know that I tend to be quite a big student of the industry. I like to call on people out there who are sort of really doing it really well out there, and I think I can't really understate how impressed I've been with what you've set up. So could we talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what your story is thus far? Smart passive income is your offering, and could you just tell us a little bit about that, please, Pat?
Sure. I mean, I think it would be best if I just started from the beginning when I kind of got into online business and blogging, because it's kind of a weird story. I never went to business school. I never I've only recently got into blogging, but it's kind of blown up for me. And when it was happening, I didn't know why. But now that I've kind of have been engulfed in this industry and have been teaching others, I know exactly why it's happening. I'm trying to share that with other people as well. So from the beginning, I guess before I even got online, I was working actually in Irvine, California, in an architecture firm. I had went to school at UC Berkeley for architecture. I loved architecture. When I was little, I'd play with Legos and stuff, and I thought it was the perfect industry for me, and it was. I really loved my job. I was so ready to devote the rest of my life to this industry, all the way till I was 65 and retire. I was doing the 401k plan, saving for retirement, and climbing up the corporate ladder, and I was actually loving it. You talk to a lot of people who are have success stories online, and they talk about escaping the 9-to-5 and that type of thing. Well, I kind of got thrown out of it, I guess you could say, because the whole economy thing happened in 2008, and I just kind of went down with it. So I lost my job. I got laid off, and that was a really tough time for me. And I didn't know for a good week. I was really depressed, didn't know what to do, didn't know where to go from there. But luckily, when I did have my job, so going back about a year earlier before I got laid off, I had started this blog about this exam I was taking. It's called the LEED exam, LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And I basically created that blog because I knew a blog was a great way to hold information and to easily share it with others. I didn't know anything about keyword research or Google or anything like that. Basically, my handwriting is terrible. I can type super fast. So I created a blog to organize my notes and to easily share those notes with my coworkers who are also studying to pass that exam as well. So I created this blog. I set it up with all these different categories based on the exam and just wrote a ton of information for a good 6 months and really organizing it so I could organize it in my head. I traveled a lot when I was in that business, and it would having the website up, the blog would allow me to access those notes really easily without having to lug around a huge book and binders and stuff. So when I got laid off, I had been interested in internet business just from an inspirational point of view. I'd been listening to some podcasts and following other people who were doing it. It was just really exciting. But again, I loved my job, so I never had any inkling to try and do that myself until I got laid off. And one of the things I learned was, if you have a website and you have traffic, you can potentially make money from it. And I just, for some reason, I randomly just decided to check the statistics of my website, which I never did because there's no reason to before. But I installed a tracker on my website, and I checked it. And this is after I got laid off, after that week of kind of being depressed and trying to figure out what to do. I learned that thousands of people from around the world were coming around and looking at my site every single day, just without me even knowing it. I didn't have the comments on or anything, so no one talked, or it's just under the radar. People were visiting that site thousands of people around the world every single day to help them pass the exam too. And that really scared me at first because, again, I didn't know this was happening. I didn't know if the information I put out there was good enough for other people to study. I didn't want to make people fail. But apparently, it helped me pass the exam. And when I opened up the comments, a lot of people started thanking me for the content on there. A lot of people started asking me questions and started to view me as kind of an expert. Which was interesting. And then I got really into connecting with people online through my website, going into forums and kind of sharing my website with people that way, just really giving away all this free content to help people pass the exam. But of course, I needed a little bit of money, so I studied a little bit of internet business strategies, and I learned that, and this is what many people do when they first want to monetize a site, they put AdSense on their site. Which is some code that Google gives you. You can put it on your site. It automatically generates advertisements based on the content on your site. And anytime someone clicks on those ads, you get money. And I just did that. And the next day, I saw I had like $3 in my account. And I still remember my first few clicks on AdSense, and it was mind blowing. I mean, it's only $3. And it doesn't seem like much, but I mean, to just simply put a piece of code on my site and suddenly make this money for pretty much doing nothing else extra, it really changed my thought in my life and really changed my life. So that first month when I only had AdSense, I started making, $20-$30 a month, which was great, but obviously not enough to live off of. I studied our internet business a little bit more, learned that I could do what's called private advertising, or sort of renting out space on my site to drive traffic to other companies' sites who want that traffic. So I did that, started to make a little bit more money. I was making maybe $300 to $400 a month because I was renting out, these little 125 by 125 pixel spaces on my site for $100-$200 a month. So that was going really well, and it started to pick up momentum from there. And my site started to get spread around, and I had joined what's called a mastermind group here in San Diego, and that's basically a group of people who have similar goals, who all want to help each other reach the next level. So I came in and I talked about my experience, and one of the guys, actually the leader of the group, he was like, "You have to write a book for your audience. You have thousands of people a day. You're making money off of advertisements. You can take this to the next level." And he's like, "You got to write an ebook. Write a study guide, compile the information on your site, put it into a nice looking electronic book, a PDF file, and just sell it." And at first I was kind of reluctant. I was like, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to. What if nobody buys it? People can get that information for free on the site already. But after drilling me in the head with it, I did it. I spent about 2 months designing that book and putting all the information into that book. The first month I sold it, I made $8,000. Wow.
And I thought I was doing something illegal because it just didn't seem. I mean, that was so much money to me for doing something online. But it was excellent, and I was like, people were sending me emails saying, "Thank you so much for this. Like, this is exactly what I needed." So apparently I was in a niche that this lead exam where there wasn't very much information about it, but word spread about my website just by word of mouth, and people linking to me from other websites just because the information was so good. And when I came out with the book, the reason it was so successful the first month it came out was because I already had that audience. I was already giving away a ton of free information. And then so when I came out with the book, it was pretty much automatic. A lot of people wanted to pay me back for the information that I gave them already. So from there, I created an audio guide. Again, another recommendation from my mastermind group. Just had someone professionally record the audio guide. The month after I sold that, along with the ebook, I was making $15,000 a month. And all the way up to March of 2009, which I made $30,000 in that 1 month from this one single website. And it was just crazy. And when things started to take off with this website, that's when I created the Smart Passive Income blog at smartpassiveincome.com, which, all this really awesome, fortunate stuff was happening to me with this lead exam site. I really wanted to share it with people, and I knew that a blog was a great way to just put yourself out there and teach. So that's why I created the Smart Passive Income blog. And that was really slow at first, and it was kind of more just me documenting what was happening and what I was doing in my other businesses. But then people caught on just in the same way they caught on to Green Exam Academy. People started linking to me, spreading the word about what I was talking about. Again, all I was doing was giving away all this free information. And then now, I have one of the top internet marketing blogs in the world. It's ridiculous. And people put me in these lists with other A-list bloggers who I idolize,
like Darren Rouse from ProBlogger.net, Yaro Starik, Chris Brogan, all these other people that I really admire, and people put me up there along with them, which is amazing, and I'm very thankful for that. And that's basically how I got to this point. And now with the Smart Passive Income blog, I have 25,000 subscribers. I have an email list of almost 20,000 people. I really I have this really big responsibility now, obviously, because so many people listen to me. But again, I'm not an expert at this stuff, and that's the thing about what's cool about blogging, is just you can just present information to people who need it, and they'll view you as an expert, and they'll listen to you. And if you have a product that you come out with, they'll buy from you, especially if you've given away so much free information already. I mean, that's really my business model. I mean, there's a bunch of different business models with blogging and advertising, like advertising and all this stuff. But really what it comes down to is just giving away all this free information. And the more information I give away, the more I get back in return. I mean, people email me asking me to go, asking me for my affiliate links for certain products that they want to buy just because they want to pay me back. So it's amazing. And to go along with social media and what you were talking about before, it is definitely an integral part. And like you were saying, everything in social media has to lead to a certain point in this strategy. And the blog is that place. A great analogy is your blog is your home. Your blog is your home that you invite people to. But where do you go out to meet these people? You go out to parties, you go out to events and stuff. And these are parties and events. That's social media. Yeah. Facebook is a party, and at a party you would meet people, get to know them, and invite them to your house. A lot of people think that you can directly sell off of social media, and you can, but you're not going to get very far. I mean, you wouldn't go to a party and be like, "Hey, Jim, nice to meet you. Come buy my stuff." And I mean, it doesn't work like that.
Absolutely. Pat, I think this is why I sort of have become such a big fan of yours and continue to be, and have reached out to you because I believe that while you talk about the blog and the purpose your blog serves, offering the free stuff and that, what it also does is it becomes that resource center. It becomes that place where while you're showing somebody how to do something with a video, we find that on your blog, or you're having a chat with somebody else in the industry, we find that on your blog. There's an update on what's happening, and although you'll tweet or you'll put something on Facebook and so on and so forth, what I find is that I can actually go to your blog and I can visit there. It's nice and it's thorough, and I just believe that you get these folks and it's happened to me a number of times where I've had somebody, a client, turn around and say, right, I want 3,000 people on my Facebook page. And I'm sort of saying, well, what happens if, heaven forbid, a button's pressed and all of a sudden you cannot access, you've got to get them off. And I think even in my report, I sort of said, listen, get them on and get them off as soon as possible. While it's great to have those people on Facebook, please, please, please be sure to sort of, do something that gets them off Facebook and over to your blog where they can actually register their details with you, and you can go from there, sort of thing,
And the thing about a blog is it's more evergreen. Like I can post a post on my blog and it'll be there for good, and people can always come back to it. I can always link back to it. But on Facebook, if I put out a status update, or on Twitter, if I tweet something, it's gone. It's off of people's radars in 30 seconds on Twitter at least. It's just it's gone. I mean, it's there. It's there. In their library, but I mean, I have to link to it, and it's just not very convenient. A blog can be your library, the place people can go to get all the information that they need. And Facebook is where you kind of say, hey, this is the place on my blog where you can go. It's so funny to me when I hear people talking about wanting to start a business, but they start with Facebook or they start with Twitter, because what's going to happen after you get those fans? Like, what are you going to do with them? You got to get them off and on to something a little bit more evergreen, like a blog, like you were just saying.
Now, so are we right in saying that when you had the sort of lead exam and you had the blog there, you weren't at that time overly active with your tweeting and your Facebook and all the rest of it?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
I use social media to expand the blog or business that I already have. To be able to connect with people in a way that I can't necessarily do on my blog. So again, my blog is the home, but I go out to these events, or I go out to Facebook and I go out to Twitter to connect with people a little bit more. And my blog isn't really the place to say, I'm going out with to the zoo with my son. Just for a short little blurb. The blog, that's not what the blog is for, but that's what Twitter's for, and that's what Facebook is for. I mean, mixing a little, like getting really personal and connecting on a deeper level with people, so that they can get to know you as a brand. Not just as a brand, but the person behind your brand a little bit more.
Absolutely. So we move now to the Smart Passive Income blog, and your sort of, obviously you've explained the importance you place on there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that you make a conscious effort, Pat, of saying, okay, I'm going to put X number of posts a week, or do you feel a bit of a calling to say something when a particular circumstance happens, or is it a combination of both? How do you manage the sort of the time scales that you put on the blog? How often you podcast, which is also very, very impressive. How do you sort of come about all of that then, Pat?
I think I'm glad you bring this up, because I feel it's very important to actually schedule stuff out. If you kind of just go at it and be like, oh, I'm just going to post whenever, you're not going to post.
Right.
That having a schedule kind of forces you, gently to get things done, which is really important. I mean, another great analogy is, I work from home, which I'm very fortunate to do. I get to spend time with my wife and my 17-month-old son. But the thing is, I work from home. My schedule is not set in stone, but I still have a schedule, because if I just said, okay, I'm just going to work whenever, I'm not going to do any work. It's having a schedule. Even though I work from home, I still say, okay, at noon I'm going to begin work. I go into my office and I get stuff done. The nice thing about it is it's flexible, so if I wanted to just get up and drive my family somewhere really quick, I can do that. But going back to the schedule with the blog, it's just the same way. So for me, I mean, it's going to be different for everybody who blogs. You have to kind of find out what works for you. But I write a post and publish it 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Some people do Tuesday and Thursday only. Some people do once a week. It doesn't really matter, as long as those posts that you write provide valuable content to the people reading them. It doesn't necessarily matter how often you post. But for me, I am comfortable doing 3 times a week. It allows me to do other things, like we were talking about the podcast. So Monday is usually my really strong post, because I know that Monday is when people get into work, they're back on their computers, and that's when I'll get the most traffic to my site. So Monday I usually put my best posts. Wednesdays are usually reserved for kind of not quite as lengthy posts, but something still informative. And then Fridays usually for the anytime I do something fun, like ask the readers a question or a podcast episode, those will be posted on Friday as well. And then or guest posts. Now the podcast, again, like social media, it's a way for me to connect with the people in a way that I cannot do on my blog. I mean, a lot of people don't like to read blogs. I mean, they don't like to read. They'd rather listen. And the nice thing about the podcast to go along with the blog is that it's auditory, so people can take it along with them wherever they go. They can listen to it in the car. They can listen to it while at the gym. And again, there's something about the voice, that you just, I mean, people listening to us now hear our voices. There's just something about listening to someone's voice. You get to kind of understand exactly who that person is, and the tone of what you're saying is much easier understood on an audio, as opposed to if you were to write something.
Sure.
People often misunderstand what people are saying when they're just reading. So that's how the schedule goes, and it works for me. I mean, I know a lot of people who just post once a month, but every time they post, it's a ridiculously informational. We call it a pillar article, which is basically an article. We call it a pillar article because it kind of defines and it becomes the base of what your site is about, and it's so strong and important that it just drives all this traffic. And I mean, I have a couple pillar articles on my site. One of them is called the backlinking strategy that works, and this is where I wrote a post that reveals exactly the strategy that I use to climb the ranks of Google. And again, this is an example of me just revealing everything, not holding anything back. That post has 754 comments on it, and there's affiliate links to that post. And that post, every day I see an income coming from the information that I give away for free on that post. I mean, it's a great business model. Show someone how you do something, recommend a product that goes along with it. I don't force anything on anybody. I just say, hey, these are the tools that I use, and here's my affiliate link in case you want to use those tools, and I get a commission off of it.
Now, I suppose a couple of things immediately come to me. I believe, if I remember correctly, Pat, I actually first came across you via a podcast. You were speaking to Nicole Dean. And,
yeah.
I heard this conversation and I thought, crumbs, this is a really cozy chat here. I like this guy, sort of thing. And then I went over and I listened to a few of your interviews. And, one thing that actually I'm having a bit of a chuckle about now, Pat, is that I can tell, and I was able to tell, that you're a bit of a stickler for sticking to your time scales, because there have been a couple of podcasts where you've actually been a little poorly. You've been a bit under the weather, so you're talking and you're sort of, full of cold and stuff. And I'm saying, hey, this guy's a gamer. I mean, it's like the show must go on, and I like that too. And it's like what you say. You come on and you say, hey, guys, look, apologies, I'm feeling a little thing, but I just wanted to share this with you. And then there was another time where, my own report here, 6 are the best. I mean, mate, I started this thing in November and I didn't release it till I don't know when, at the start of the year. And just listening to you saying, hey, listen, just over that first hurdle. You got to get over that first hurdle. And the fact that you were talking about this sort of stuff, I just was saying to myself, hey, Pat, thanks a lot. It's really nice to know that I'm not the only one experiencing this sort of thing, And so sometimes, like what you said, and when you share it, it's very powerful. And I think the other thing about a blog, when it's done correctly, and your blog in particular, is that, you're spot on, right? Not everybody wants to read, but there is something for everyone in an ideal blog, because you get these guys who do want to sort of print off page after page of a post you've got and sit down and read it. Other ones might say, okay, how do I learn how to do this via a video? And let's look over Pat's shoulder as he does that. So I think that balance that you're able to find too enables there to be something for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I mean, that's why I've expanded onto iTunes with my podcast, and also I have a very thriving community over on my YouTube channel. I think I have over 500,000 views on my YouTube videos. And again, it's just a whole package. I'm creating a brand, and I'm expanding onto these platforms, which allow me to reach people who I would never have reached if I just stuck with a blog. I mean, I know it sounds like a lot of work, but I mean, if you're really passionate about something, it's not very hard to do. iTunes has given me so much traffic. It's unbelievable. I mean, I was really surprised. Every single week, I get at least 2 or 3 emails from people saying, hey, Pat, thanks. I listened to I found you on iTunes. I found you, by searching for the word blogging in iTunes. Or a friend told me about your podcast. I listened to it. I just love what you're doing. Just want to say thanks. I mean, people find me through iTunes all the time, and also YouTube. A lot of people are coming to my site directly from YouTube as well. My analytics tools tell me that. So it's just, I mean, in addition to expanding the brand that you have on your blog, you're actually reaching out to audiences and introducing yourself to them on these other platforms that you would never would have normally gotten on with just doing the blog. And obviously you would never get on those platforms if you were only sticking to social media and didn't have a blog either.
Indeed. Now, Pat, before I sort of start, closing, because I know your time's very sort of valuable. And
I got all day for you.
I appreciate that. With the blog now, and it's been a bit of a throwaway line by quite a few people that they say, Google loves blogs, Google loves WordPress and that, but you don't just create a blog and then all of a sudden Google is just saying, hey, smart passive income, pleased to meet you, and I'm going to send people your way. What have you done in order to enhance the potential of people finding you on Google? What are the few of the sort of I don't necessarily want to call them tricks, because I know it can be quite sort of formulaic in the way you go about doing it, but in a nutshell, Pat, how can we optimize blogs in a way that indeed we are found easier via the search engines?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a huge question. I mean, I could spend a couple hours talking about that, but I'll give you some quick tips.
Okay.
First of all, when you create a blog, obviously when you create it, it's not just going to automatically be found. There's some things you have to do to it to give Google the best chance of finding you and finding you in the right light and everything. So there's something called search engine optimization. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about, SEO for short. And there's two types of SEO. There's on-site SEO, which is stuff that you do with your website, and then there's stuff you do off your website, which is off-site SEO. Now, with on-site SEO, there's a few basic things you could do. First of all, I mean, if you're going to get into blogging, the most important thing is your domain name. Don't just pick one out of the blue. I mean, there's a few tips I can give you right now. First, the first thing is to consider is what keywords are people searching for in relation to whatever topic you're writing about. And there's a couple of free tools you could use to understand kind of the terms that people use that in the niche that you're in. I mean, you can just basically Google whatever it is you want to talk about and see what other people are what other terms people have on their blogs and in their content that relate to your site. But there's a tool called the Google Keyword AdWords tool.
Okay.
And basically what you do is you can put a keyword in there, and it'll tell you how many people are searching for that keyword each month. So the ones that are searched for more often are going to be most likely the ones that people are going to be. I mean, the ones that have higher numbers as far as search numbers are the ones that people are more putting into Google. And again, we're talking about getting organic traffic, which means traffic from Google eventually. So putting your keyword in your domain name is very important. That's something I did with Smart Passive Income, which is really helpful because first, when people go to my site, they know immediately what the site's about because that keyword is in the domain. Secondly, when people link to my site, and this has to do with off-site SEO, when people link to my site, they usually link the words Smart Passive Income. And Google takes into account what words are actually linked to. That's called the anchor text. So when people link to my site, they use the anchor text Smart Passive Income. And so Google says, okay, the relevant terms here are smart, which is just an addition to my primary keywords, passive income. So that it's very important that when people link to me, they're using the term that I want to target. And then just naturally, without even forcing any backlinks. I mean, there are ways to get backlinks like that. And again, a backlink is just a link from another site to yours. There's all these different techniques to get more. I mean, this is the most natural way to do it and easy. Put the keyword that you want to be ranked for based on your keyword research with that Google Keyword AdWords tool into your domain name. So that's the first thing. Second thing you want to do as far as getting found with Google is just making sure that when you write content, it's content that's relevant. I mean, it sounds very simple, and it is simple, but just make it natural content. I mean, when I started greenexamacademy.com, my lead exam site, for a year, I was just writing stuff about the exam. I didn't do anything. I didn't do any tricks or anything. I was just writing naturally what was in that exam and what it was about. And just people found me in Google. I started ranking number 1 and number 2 at Google for a whole mess of keywords, just because I was writing about it. And that's probably the leading up to the most important thing is just put out content. I mean, write.
You see, I have sort of spoken to people about this before, and it's while the Google algorithms are changing all the time, and I know you for one sort of stay on top of that. I think the overall mindset that one needs to understand about Google is that Google makes people a promise, and that promise is when you put something in a search engine in the Google there to say flights to New York or this, that, and the other, they will deliver you the best options available. So therefore, if somebody is inquiring about how to fix a washing machine, and your blog or your post indeed talks about how to fix a washing machine, so that when somebody goes to that page, that information is there, it's relevant, and Google loves that. And that's why Google will say, hey, we've got just the guy to sort of pass you on to, if you like. And once you get your head around that, about saying, hey, listen, this needs to be relevant, and you use that word, you can't trick these things up, because you do get found out. Someone's there for 10 seconds and then off they go. And if you get enough people that just sort of go and then they leave and say, no, well, I'm not getting the information that I was told I could expect here, then you're not going to be featured, are you?
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff, the stuff matters for sure. But I want to just, I mean, we talk about search engine optimization, and this is something that I feel is very overrated. I mean, search engine optimization is important, but like I was saying earlier, I didn't do any tricks or anything. Really, what brought my blog, both Smart Passive Income blog and Green Exam Academy, to light was really building relationships with other people, because it is the people who read your blog, or people who are also in your industry who could help promote your blog. That's where you're going to get the most kind of traction and most results. I mean, for the Smart Passive Income blog, for example, I was so fortunate to be featured by Yaro Starik on a podcast and Darren Rose, because I was just giving away all this free information. They caught notice of it and they wanted me on their podcast. And since then, everything's been taking off. With Green Exam Academy, there weren't that many other players in the niche, but I was creating relationships with the people who are actually on my site and people who are using the site in these forums. So what I was doing is I became kind of an expert in their eyes, and whenever someone asked them, hey, where do I go to find out about this exam, they would always just say, hey, go to greenexamacademy.com. Pat's over there. He'll help you out. I mean, and that's why going back to social media and why it's important with blogging is because if you set it up correctly with your blog, you can make it super easy for people to share that post or share that podcast with all their followers on Twitter, with all their followers on Facebook, with just the click of a button. I mean, recently, Facebook is my number one traffic generator. And that's not because I go out and post everywhere on Facebook, but it's because everyone who reads my blog likes the page. When they like it, it gets posted on their news feed, and everyone sees that, and it just creates this whole viral effect that kind of just gets things spinning and spinning faster and faster, and then all this traffic comes to the site. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, there's a lot of components involved, and really, I mean, I know some of you are probably hearing this and it might be a little overwhelming. The most important thing to know is just take one step at a time. You'll get there. You don't need to be perfect right away. I mean, that's another big tip I can give you, is you don't need to be perfect. Learn as you go along. Every mistake you make, and you're going to make mistakes. I still make mistakes. I've made 1 billion mistakes. Every mistake you make, or every failure that you come across, just think of it as getting one step closer to exactly where you want to be. As long as you learn from your mistakes and you're applying it the next time you go around, you're always making progress.
There's a great saying I heard from an inspirational speaker called Les Brown, and he says, and I knew where he was coming from. He says, "You'll fail your way to success."
Exactly. Exactly.
And I just thought, listen, good on you. He says, you'll just realize, okay, maybe I've got to do it a little differently here, and you learn from it and you progress. So, Pat, if we were to say, that there'll be a few sort of quote unquote tips, and I know you're not a quote unquote tipster, but if I was to say to you, hey, look, come on, Pat, then when it comes to blogging, if there were 3 things that you would say, hey, look, guys, if you can focus on A, B, and C, you will be on your way to sort of developing your blog. What would you say that those 3 things would be?
Okay, so if you want to become a top blogger, this is really what you got to do. Your first priority, and we've touched on this already, but I mean, really, you have to try to influence as many people as possible, while at the same time making the internet a better place. That's actually a quote from Nicole Dean. She says, "Make the internet a better place." So if you can do those 2 things. Build content, create content in whatever medium you like to make the internet a better place, to help people, and the more people you can influence, the better. I mean, you've heard of the term IM, right, which it stands for internet marketing, but I like to think of the acronym as influence many. Because the more people you can influence, the better off you're going to be. I mean, and with social media, the more people you have on board with what you do, I mean, the more it's just going to spread. Along those same lines, I feel a blog is a perfect way to influence many, because anyone in the world can access your webpage, and you could put out one blog post and have it sent to hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, going to the extreme other end of the spectrum, personal training, for example, you can only personal train so many people. So you're actually, it's not a very scalable thing. You're not going to influence that many people. I mean, it's very important. I mean, every person matters, especially with personal training. I mean, it's life-changing. But with blogging specifically, you have the ability to get your word out there to the whole world. And so just, influence many and do what you can to just influence as many people as possible. So that's the first thing to understand. The second thing, again, we touched on this as well, and these are recurring themes that you're going to hear no matter who you interview, but build relationships with other bloggers. Like, get on their radar. I mean, link a few specific things you can do as a beginning blogger is you could link to them from your own posts, because they'll see that link back coming from their own statistics. So that'll put you on their radar for a little bit. You could mention them in your blog post. You can email them and just say hi, and just say how much they've helped you, or what kind of influence they've had on you, and that you also have a website. Don't ask for anything in return, just to get on their radar. And I did those things, and eventually a couple of the big guys in this industry contacted me and were like, hey, we want to have you on for an interview. We think you have a great story. I keep hearing your name everywhere. I mean, getting on their radar and building relationships with them is a great thing to do, because the thing is, and this is with marketing in general, not just blogging or internet marketing, there is no more powerful word than the word of someone else or a friend of someone else. I can tell your audience listening right now to do whatever, go buy my book or whatever, or go to my website. But that's not going to be as powerful as you saying it to them. And if they go out and if they have friends, and they say, hey, you should go to smartpassiveincome.com, that's going to be worth a lot more than if they were just hearing it from me. So again, we're going back to the people here and how important the people are, your audience, your subscribers, your readers. Treat them like you would treat a friend. They are the most important thing, because, I mean, without the people, you have pretty much just a dead website. So, that let them become your primary marketing strategy. I mean, that's always what's been happening to me. I mean, going back to the forums I was talking about earlier with Green Exam Academy, it was the people who just spread the word about what I was doing. That really made the biggest difference. And then the third thing I want to tell you is just really don't give up. And every blogger goes through this. I've gone through this. You start a blog, you're super excited, you start writing, a month later, you're not seeing any traffic, you're not getting any results, no one's commenting on your blog. This happened to me on all of my websites that I started, including the Smart Passive Income blog.
Wow. That's just so difficult for me to comprehend. Once upon a time, you're sort of wondering, hey, where is everybody?
I wanted to throw away the Smart Passive Income blog at least 2 or 3 times in the first 6 months, but I'm glad I didn't. Obviously, I mean, many people don't give themselves enough time to grow, and the thing is, blogging and seeing success with your blog, it does take time. It takes time to build those relationships. It takes time for Google to find you. It just takes time. And I know it's difficult because we live in a day and age where we can put a search query in Google and it actually tells us that, it took 0.000143 seconds to find whatever it is we're finding. I mean, we want results fast nowadays, and that's what makes it difficult when we start blogging. But, there's actually, I have this post, which I actually put in my email autoresponder too, that I just want to share really quick, because this is huge. I mean, with blogging, you're going to want to give up. These 5 really quick things, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
Let me show. So the first thing that you're going to come across when you're blogging is what I just said. You're going to think you're not going to get it. You're going to be like, okay, I'm not getting any results. I'm not getting anywhere. So the first thing to understand is, what are your goals, and then break down those goals into mini goals. Because if your goal is to get maybe 1,000 subscribers in a year, which is a great goal, it's a little bit easier to understand what you need to do if you say, okay, instead of I want to get 1,000 subscribers in a year, I want to get what's 1,000 divided by 12, whatever that is, every month, right? 100 something every month, or less. Yeah. So, I mean, Sorry, I can't think right now. But
and I'm
as far as
frantically looking around for my calculator. Arithmetic wasn't my strongest
okay,
point. But
let's say your
gonna...
goal is 1,200 subscribers,
There you go, perfect.
and then so all you
100.
need is 100 subscribers a month, which makes it so much easier to comprehend and understand exactly what you need to do. So I mean, and break it down, and it makes it nice when you do get to 100 subscribers a month. You can give yourself a good pat on the back. Like, I mean, imagine playing Super Mario Brothers from level 1 all the way to level 8 without there being any breaks. You know, just one whole thing with, and then your only goal is to get to level 8. You know, you finish level 1, you feel good. You finish level 2, you feel good, and all the way you're going up to level 8, and then you could beat the game. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you know, if you don't understand what to do next, you know, that always comes across my mind. But again, breaking things down will help. Asking for help is very important. People love to give away information and love to become a resource for you. I mean, just ask. I mean, there's no, I mean, don't. I mean, pride and all that thing, fine. I mean, but if you really want to get somewhere, ask people who are experts that can help you where you want to be. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? They'll say, "Oh, sorry, I don't have the time." Well, at least you tried. And again, writing stuff down is very important. There's this thing called mind mapping, where it's basically it's like a bubble diagram, and you just put your thoughts on this diagram. You could rearrange things, and you can kind of understand what your brain is thinking in the kind of linear format in a bubble diagram, so you can kind of basically map exactly what your ideas are, and it'll help you take your ideas, whether you're writing an ebook, whether you're trying to figure out what blog posts to write, or how to write one specific blog post to a whole new level. So check out mind mapping. There's a couple tools out there. Some are free that you can use. Another thing that you might come across is that you just might not care anymore, and this happens a lot. We lose the inspiration, but again, just really quick, if you come across that, just do a motivation check. You know, rewind for a little bit and try to go back to what it was like. You know, those feelings that came across when you first started blogging, which are so awesome. I mean, and it's like the honeymoon phase. You know, go back and remember why you're blogging or why you're doing what you're doing. And sometimes, you know, maybe just take a break. Take a little break. I mean, that's always a good thing. Number 4, you might be thinking, well, maybe your idea isn't so good after all. And I've come across this a lot. You know, I get into my thing and I'm doing it, and then I second guess myself. Now, you probably thought it was a good idea for a reason, right? There's something in there that said this is what you got to do, and then there's a reason why you took that action. So understand exactly, you know, you're probably not the only person out there who thinks that's a good idea. And, you know, another thing to understand, 2 words I'm going to tell you: pet rock. I mean, who thought that was a good idea? But now it's $1 million product, $1 million a year product. You know, having a pet rock. That's a, you know, or the chia pet or whatever you want to have.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to mention is this is a big one too. Is that you might go into blogging and might be like, okay, well, I don't think it's going to do well because there's already someone else doing it, and they're doing it way better than I am. You know, nobody is like you. You are unique. Nobody's like you. No one has your voice. And it's okay if there's someone else doing the exact same thing out there. I mean, that's what a free market's all about in business. I mean, in San Diego, I just did a search the other day. There are 605 dry cleaners, like within the San Diego region here in California. I mean, they're all doing the exact same thing. They each have a little twist to it, obviously, different names. They have different personalities based on who's owning them and whatever. But they're all majorly successful because they all do something and provide a service for people that people need. So again, and to go along those same lines, you know, I love when there's competitors out there because they show me exactly what not to do. Yeah. That, and they show me exactly what they're missing. And, you know, especially with social media. Oh, my gosh, with Twitter and Facebook, with companies who are your competitors, you can see people complaining or about what's wrong, and then you can just go in, make your product or your blog or whatever better, and just take it from there. And at the same time, you can see what they're doing well, and you can use that as inspiration for yourself as well. Fantastic. So, sorry, that was a little long there.
No, Pat. This is terrific, and I suppose then in the same breath, in the same token, because in my report, I made a point of saying, listen, just remember, as you indeed confirm that, people don't go to Facebook to be sold to, and so on and so forth. With blogging, then, are there any no-nos? Are there any things that, in your opinion, you need to sort of try and avoid, or not, quote unquote, do, or not fall into a trap of doing? What's your thought process on that? You've spoken about some of the tips. Are there any things to avoid or things to be mindful of when blogging?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's a few things. First thing I want to talk about is, don't just straight up copy other people's stuff. It's so easy to copy other people's stuff, and I know that's the first thing you want to do because it's easy. Don't copy other people's stuff, and I'm not just talking about plagiarism from content or ripping off someone's design. I mean, the reality is, if you just copy someone, you're only going to get so far. I mean, you're becoming a follower, but you really have to become a leader as a blogger in order to succeed. And again, you can copy strategies and use similar ideas, but you got to put your own twist to it, put your own voice behind it, so you could stand out from the crowd. I mean, use other bloggers as inspiration and other designs as inspiration, but you really have to create your own brand and own voice behind it. Another no is don't. One of the things to do a lot of people do when they start a website is they just pour on a billion advertisements. And that's a big no because, first of all, I know you want to make money right away. If you are into blogging for monetization purposes, that's what a lot of people do, and that's a big no because, first of all, you don't have any traffic yet. So, I mean, at least wait till you get some traffic coming to your site, because if you have a billion ads on there, I mean, that's such a big turnoff, especially for new visitors. If you go to my site, I don't have any advertisements until you start to scroll down after you've read a little bit about what I'm about. So, I mean, I might even take those ads out altogether because I don't believe they're actually converting that well. And a lot of people see those advertisements and they just ignore them now. I mean, we see them everywhere that they kind of evaporate from our vision. So, I mean, it's not even worth it. And really, I can't stress this enough. The best way that I've been able to monetize my site is just showing people how I do something and offering recommendations for products and services that I use to do that, and creating my own products, obviously, like the ebook that I created.
Yeah.
Now, another thing is, don't make things too difficult for people. You want to design your site and have it built in a way, and it's really easy to do this. I mean, you can just go out there and get themes. Some of them are free, actually, that kind of like a skin you could just put on your site if you set it up as a WordPress blog, which I definitely recommend. You want to design it so a monkey could use it. Make it super easy. Don't give people so many options. Like, I see these websites, they have like 40 options in their navigation menu. That just is really overwhelming. It's going to confuse people. Stick to just a few of the main things that you want people to do when they come to your site, and focus on that. Try to understand. Really ask yourself this question: what do you want people to do when they get to your site? And then based on that answer, you can focus. If you want to get email subscribers, then you would obviously put an email opt-in form near the top where people would see that, and that would be the first thing. Or maybe you want people to understand exactly who you are and what your site is about, which I feel is important. So, like on my site, if you go there, you'll see a big "Hello, my name is" tag with exactly what I'm about. It's different for everybody, so it depends on what your goals are. If you have something like a subscription process, or you're going to sell something on your blog, one thing to keep in mind is that the less steps someone has to take to get to that final goal, the more chances people will have to actually get there. So, for example, if you're trying to get email subscribers, put the email opt-in form on your homepage. If you're telling people to click somewhere to then put in their name and email, that's going to drastically reduce the conversion rates for you. And similarly, if you are selling a product and you have people click like 10 different pages before they get to that buy now button, it's going to really decrease. You want to decrease the number of gateways that people have to go through.
Take the obstacles away, huh?
Exactly. Make it super easy. I mean, why do you think Google is designed the way it is on the homepage? The only thing you could do there is type in a search query. I mean, that's the difference between Google and Yahoo. I mean, Yahoo has all these news articles and everything on the homepage. Google has one task and one task only, and there's a reason why they're one of the most successful businesses out there.
Indeed, indeed. And then, Pat, you're a young man still. You are very understated as far as how new you still feel you are in the industry. But I always pick up that you're always learning. What I know you've learned a ton of things over the years, but what when you are looking back, if this is a sort of a partway report about saying, okay, well, these are this is what I've learned over the years, and I know it's a tough question because it's a very broad one, but what have you learned over the years since you sort of began?
I mean, really, the biggest thing I learned is nothing's going to happen until you do it. And that's huge. I mean, you could plan and read and educate yourself all you want, which is important. But to quote Jason Fried and David Hansen from the book Rework, a business plan is just an estimate of what's going to happen. I mean, you never really know what's going to happen until you do it. And my best education was the actual experience in doing all this. And again, I failed many times. I've made mistakes, but that's all leading up to the point where I am now, which I'm very thankful for. So taking action, just doing it. I mean, one of the quotes that I throw around a lot is, every day you don't have something online for sale, and this, maybe you not want to sell something online, but every day you don't have a blog up, for example, is a day lost to potentially reach new audiences, for example. So every day you don't have something for sale is a day of potential profits lost too. That's another way you could think of that. So taking action is important. Just and I know there's some fear involved and stuff, but I mean, another one thing you could think about in regards to that, if you are having trouble getting started, or taking that leap, is to just ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? I ask myself that all the time, and that's what gets me over the humps. That's a question I asked myself when I wrote my ebook. So when I wrote my ebook, like I was saying earlier, I was really scared. What if people don't buy it? I asked myself, what's the worst that can happen? Well, no one's going to buy it, and that's not. I mean, that's not too bad.
It's not. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's not. I would love people to buy it, but that's probably the worst. That's realistically probably the worst thing that could happen. But obviously, I'm really glad that I invested that time to do it, because it's changed my life. And the second thing I learned, really, to go along with that, is to take bold actions. Bold being the key word there, because you could go through the motions and work on little things here and there. I mean, go on Facebook and leave status updates, and go on Twitter and leave a tweet here and there.
It's token stuff, isn't it? Token stuff, that is.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. But that stuff helps. But really, if you want to see progress and see big jumps in your success and get to see really major results, you have to take bold actions. So not just taking action, but taking bold actions. Writing an ebook was a bold action. On my Smart Passive Income blog, one of the bold actions I've taken was I decided to every month reveal exactly where my income comes from, down to the penny, and where it comes from, and sharing everything I learned. And that's been. I mean, my income reports page is the most popular page. Yeah. Is one of the most popular pages on my site.
I had your good pal Cliff Ravenscraft on to talk about podcasting, and he mentioned that. He said, and Pat does it, very transparent and likes to show this and all the rest of it. And again, correct me if I'm wrong with that. It instills some additional discipline, just kind of like the discipline you say, right, my Mondays and my Wednesdays and my Fridays, you being able to track where everything's coming into, and again, without meaning to put pressure on you, Pat, and I suppose this is where we're sort of heading from, is that, you are establishing yourselves as a leader in every sense of the word. I think you're demonstrating it. You also show a real nice vulnerability, about your own thoughts, to say, hey, listen, Much, if you think that I just woke up yesterday and just sort of clicked my fingers and all of a sudden I had this, think again, pal, and that's very encouraging for someone like me, and I know it'll be encouraging for everybody else out there. And you've been a real inspiration. You continue to be so, and I hope you can share with others. So where can they find you, Pat? Where, if they want to sort of subscribe and find you on the various sort of social media and your blog, where can
Sure.
they go?
I'm just going to give you one spot so you don't have to memorize all these different
Okay.
things. PatOnFacebook.com. That's
Okay.
it.
Pat
That'll
on
take you to my
Facebook.
Facebook that'll take you to my Facebook page. There's almost 10,000 people there now, and we have a lot of fun on there. I mean, it's one of the most active Facebook communities I know, and I'm very fortunate to have it be my own.
Okay. Okay. Well, Pat, this has been an absolute pleasure, and on a personal level, I just want to thank you for the encouragement and the support that you've provided to me offline. And
My pleasure. My pleasure.
thank you for taking the time to speak to everybody here. I know that they are going to sort of look you up and sign up to your various sort of newsletters and things like that. I strongly recommend, and good luck to you, Pat. I think as you continue to move forward and your product continues to evolve, I know that there are going to be some really great things ahead for you. So thank you, good luck, and I hope you can